It is a quadratic. Is it in standard form? No. It's not in standard form because it's not equal to 0. So if we make this equal to 0, we have 0 equals 3x squared plus 2x minus 2. At this point, you should ask yourself, is this what?
Is it negative 3x squared?
No, I kept it on the same side. I moved everything on the left over to the right. In general, it's easier if you can keep that positive. I like having a leading coefficient that's positive. If you don't, you can just multiply everything by negative 1. That right there, you should ask yourself what at this point? Is it what? Yeah, I should at least test it. 0 equals what? 3x and x is the only way you can break it up, right? What about you have to? The next two numbers have to multiply together to get negative what?
2.
Negative 2, and there's only one way to do that, right? So how about like plus 1 and oh, that's going to be too big. How about minus 2 and what? Plus 1? Does that work?
No.
Well, let's try it. What do you get? 3x squared plus 3x minus 2x. It's close, right? It's x, so it's close, but just because you're close doesn't necessarily mean it's possible, right? So at this point we say, okay, we've tried enough. Doesn't look like it's nicely factorable, so what method are we going to use?
It says to do the quadratic.
It does tell you, I'm sorry, it does tell you to, but we've kind of verified. We've verified through our own playing around. Does this factor nicely? No. So we take this and we have first identify what, and what.
A, B, and C.
A is what?
3,
B is?
2,
C is?
3, 2.
Yep. So what do we find first? That word that begins with D,
Discriminant.
which is b squared minus 4ac. What is that? Convinced. I'm not asking deep questions yet. 2 squared minus 4 times 3 times negative 2. So you end up with 4 plus what? 20 what? 4. So that's 28. So x is equal to negative b, which is negative 2, plus or minus the square root of 28 all over what? 2 times what? 3. Are we done yet? No, we need to simplify. This is going to be equal to negative 2 plus or minus, what's the largest square factor of 28? Yeah? 4 is the largest square factor. So this is the square root of 4 times the square. Ooh, wow, wow, cold. He's welcoming and courteous. He's welcoming and courteous. It's like we're back in middle school. It's good. What's the square root of 4?
2.
So we have this. Are we done yet? All evens there. So we have negative 1 plus or minus root 7 over. Can we go any further than this? No. This is nicely done. We're done at this point. Okay. To add or subtract fractions, what do you need?
LCD.
You need a least common denominator. To add or subtract fractions, you need a common denominator. A least common denominator is nice. So in this case, what's our LCD?
4 times
4. If you want your least, it's 4. If you want a common denominator, it's just 8. Sure. The quickest way to get a common denominator is to multiply them, but you don't need to do that. Keep it smaller. So which one do we multiply what by? We multiply what by what? Times what?
By 2.
Over? Yes. So we end up with x squared minus 2x over 4 is equal to what? 1. Now what do we do? Not a showstopper. Multiply by 4. X squared minus 2x equals 4. Is that in standard form?
No.
So it's x squared minus 2x minus 4 is equal to 0. And it really looks like maybe you could do this by factoring, but no. What's a equal to, Aubrey?
1.
B?
2.
C? Negative 4. Negative. Remember, standard form, this is really important, is ax squared plus bx plus. Right? So if it's minus 5, it's going to be minus 5 for the c. So at this point, you find the begins with a d. What is it? So it's going to be b squared minus 4ac, which is negative what? 2 squared minus 4 times
1.
negative 4. So what's that going to be?
4 minus
4 plus
16
equals 20. Yes, math. I love that. Short circuit. Math. Math. So x equals negative b. What was b again? Negative 2. So it's going to be negative 2. 2, yeah. Plus or minus 20 all over 2 times a is 1, right? So it's going to be 2 plus or minus root 20 over 2. Is that done yet? No, because root 20 is the same thing as root 4 times root 5. So that's going to be...
Oh, I see what I did.
Oh, good. So what's that going to be? 1 plus or minus root 5. Done.
Could you subtract the 1?
There it is. Is this in standard form? No. So what should we do to make this? What's the first thing we should do?
Simplify. Well, distribute.
You could distribute. So p is equal to, it's 25 minus 5p over 3p plus 3. Now what?
Take out.
Yeah, just do this. What's this called? Just cross multiply. What's p over? 1. So it's going to be p times what? And that's going to equal 1 times 25 minus 5p. I'm just putting the 1 there for emphasis. Hey, do we get rid of all the fractions? One word. What do we do next? Yeah, there we go. 3p squared plus 3p equals 25 minus 5p. Is that in standard form? No, it is not. So 3p squared, what? Plus 8p minus 25 is equal to? Is that right? What do you think? Is that right? Looks like it. Now, at this point, what should you try or think maybe is possible? Test it. Actually try to... Does it say to use the quadratic, though? Yeah, it still does. So let's just use it. What's a equal?
3.
B? C? Yeah, these are going to be bigger numbers, but is that sometimes a necessity? Yeah. 8 squared minus 4 times 3 times what? Negative 25. This is where we hope it's a nice square, right? So what's this going to be? 64 plus 300, I think. 4 times 25 is 100. 100 times 3. So what do you end up with? 360 what? Ooh, that's not bad. So what do we have here? X is equal to negative b. What's b? 8. So negative 8 plus or minus root 364 all over what? At this point, we've done most of the work, but are we done? What number are we most concerned about? Yeah, so what do we need to do with 364? Factor tree. 182, right? 2 times what? 91? Is 91 a perfect... Is 91 prime, I think?
Yeah.
It is prime. So what does this mean? It's negative 8 plus or minus 2 root 91 all over 6. Hey, we have 8, 2, and 6, so what does it become? Negative plus or minus root all over. Bingo. Yes. Make sure you simplify. Forms of 1. So this turns into x squared over x squared minus 3x over x squared minus 28 over x squared equals 0. What could we multiply everything by at this point?
X squared.
If you multiply everything by x squared, that's really nice because what's it equal on the other side?
X squared.
No. 0. What's 0 times anything? 0. So if you multiply all of this by x squared, what do you end up with? And then you ask yourself, what's your method of choice if you can? Can you factor this? Yeah. X plus...
Isn't that 1? X squared over x squared?
It is 1. That's correct. But kids, this is really, really important that everybody lock in on this. Yes, it is 1, but we want a common denominator so we can multiply it all by the same thing and get rid of it.
Okay. Can I just say something?
Not yet. Once I finish, then you can. What does this factor into? What's it factor into?
X minus 7 minus 4.
There you go. X equals negative 4 or 7. Now, Mar, what's your question?
So I multiplied everything by x squared over 1 and then
You multiply everything at the beginning by x squared over 1?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I did too.
And I ended up getting the same answer.
Buddy, one question I gave you on a quiz was something like this. 1 over a plus 1 over b equals 1 over c. What does a equal? We did that exact thing. What should I multiply? If I want to solve this for a, what should I multiply everything by to begin with? ABC, I like that. ABC. Literally what Mar just said, ABC is great because when you multiply this, what do you end up with? BC plus AC equals AB. Which variable do you want to solve for, A, B, or C? A. So then, no. We're solving for what?
B.
You need everything with A on one side. BC is minus AC. What do we factor on the right? A times B minus C. Now what do we divide by? So BC over B minus C is equal to, and we've solved it. You have to be very careful. It's the same type of work over here. So try this one if you haven't started it already. You first.